Welcome into NFL Daily. I am Tom Downey, and today's video is made possible by our friends over at Magic Spoon. Get $5 off your first order of this healthy and sugar-free cereal that tastes incredible when you go to magicspoon.com/chat. That link, by the way, in the comment section and in the description. As we always do here at Chat Sports, we'll make sure everybody has a chance to click that notification here live on YouTube and live on Facebook. So we'll ask you guys some questions. First up, because we will update you guys on the Saquon Barkley injury and return here, how many games will Saquon play in this year? We'll assume regular season and ignore any, hybrid potential, postseason stuff since it's the Giants. So get your votes in. How many games will Saquon Barkley play this year? Get your votes in for me in the comments section. And as always, I'll give some shout-outs as these all flow in as well. How many games for Saquon Barkley this season? Mike Dibble, first one in, says 9. Cheater Jewel Text doesn't think Saquon will play week 1. That'll be our story, so hang on for that one. In 10-ish minutes or so, we'll hit Saquon Barkley off the top. I see 8 in there from Shane Brinkley as well. 6 from Jeanette Gonzalez. 9 from John Blackman. I see a 3 in there, a 4, a first from Band Up Bari. It's fair. 7 from Walkman. 2 words, not 1, by the way. So again, get your votes in. How many games will Saquon Barkley play this season for the New York Football Giants? I see 16 from Derek, 10, 16 from Mark and Juan, respectively. No one's saying all 17, so not a lot of confidence there. I see a 7 from Grant Brady, 9 from Elio, 5 from Christian, 10, 8. There's a 17 from Jeremiah Seavey, but very low numbers on that one in terms of how many games Saquon will play this year. Speaking of running backs, we will also discuss some of the top free agents out there right now on the open market, I should say, So pick a running back. Let's say your team needs to go get a new free agent running back. Who would you like to see your team sign? You can go with Lev Bell, type in LB, type in TG for Todd Gurley, or you can type in AP for Adrian Peterson. I mean, it's also AD for Adrian Peterson too, just so we're clear on that one. So, get your votes in, and we'll see what the results end up looking like here as these all flow in. I see 2 Lev Bells from Christian and Jeanette, 3 Todd Gurleys from L2 Cloud Z, Vincent as well. A couple APs in there from Caleb and Nate. Another AP from Anthony Allen. So a pretty, Mike Dibble, all washed up, but Lev Bell. I mean, you're not totally wrong. I would argue these 3 backs are not what you're used to seeing out of their primes. I think Todd Gurley, and thank you, producer Sam, for turning that over to AD for all day. I like that better. Someone just said Steph Curry. Okay, he's a bit undersized to play back. I feel like he'd have to be like a slot receiver or maybe a nickel corner. He's not the biggest guy. Maybe you could see him end up being a outside receiver. I think his quickness would fit better at receiver. Lev Bell sucks from Super Yoshi. No shame there. Mike Who says AP, AD, LB. Pretty even split here for the most part. I'd say around a third for each of these guys, but yeah, they're not great in terms of what they bring at this point in their NFL career. We will also discuss Cam Newton on today's video. So with that in mind, make your predictions. Where do you believe Cam Newton will end up signing this year? Again, Newton cut by the New England Patriots, still searching for a new NFL team. Get your votes in for me in the comment section. As Anisha says, retire. Okay, I guess retirement's fine. You can go with that route, but I was thinking team. Cheater says Texans, Bucks, Cowboys, the Chicago Bulls. I doubt that one. More Cowboys, Washington football team from Max. Another Washington in there from Anthony and Jeanette. So Washington popping into there. I see Dolphins, Carolina for the fun reunion. Okay. Decent amount of retirements in there. More Panthers, more Washington. Dolphins. I see Texans in there as well. The Bears from Victor. Arizona from John. I actually wouldn't mind Arizona as a backup, although I do like Colt McCoy still. Sonics, okay, funny. Dolphins, Steelers, another Dolphins in there, Washington Texans. So a bit of a common theme there. Texans, Cowboys, Washington, Carolina are among the popular teams. We've got some odds out there now in terms of who will end up being or where Cam Newton will end up signing. We'll break that down as part of today's show. And can't really talk about one quarterback without mentioning the other uncertain one, which is the future of Deshaun Watson. Now, no real update on this one beyond the Texans have announced their starting quarterback. Stay tuned for that. But will Deshaun Watson end up being traded this year? Make your predictions for me in the comments. And I mean before the end of this season, so really before the NFL trade deadline. Y for yes and for no. Cheater Jultech says no, so does Caleb. I think it's no as well. It's so difficult for me to see how an NFL organization can be like, yes, you know what? Let's take on this guy that's got 20-plus accusations against him, is the subject of multiple state and federal investigations into potential crimes committed. Like, that's not really someone I'm trying to add to my roster. And if you're trying to throw in protections if he does go to jail, maybe that's a sign you shouldn't be trading for that guy. But I'm sure we'll get Deshaun Watson questions throughout today's show and all the way up until the NFL trade deadline. I see mostly ends coming in. I will shout out Victor Palomar, who says why, and Juan Hernandez says why as well, both saying Deshaun will get traded. I want you guys now to rep your team in the comments section. Shout out your favorite NFL team for me in the comments section right now. Let's see who's repping. All right, I know we got a lot of Cowboys and Seahawks and Raiders and Niners fans, but who else is in there? I'll give as many shout-outs as I possibly can here. I see Raiders from Juan, Browns from Mike, Bears from L2, Cowboys from Jeanette and Juan. A different Juan says Raiders, Bears again, Raiders from Max, Jacksonville, the Jags from Christian. Anish says me, I'm not a football team, but thank you, Anish. I see Raiders again there from Juan. Caleb says Titans. Gavin says Cowboys. Burnin' Spades, good to have you back, my friend, says Falcons. I see another Jags in there from Christian. More Cowboys from Jesse and Jason and Cryptic. Browns and Panthers from Mark Gabbert. Two good teams to cheer for in terms of it's an issue once every 4 years, so that's not too bad. Dolphins from Mike Who. Cheater says the Broncos. Big Mike says the 49ers. Roy Crosby says the Dolphins. And then Yavin just says Eagles and Cowboys suck. There you go. And speaking of the Cowboys, by the way, they play in the season opening game for the NFL against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So who you got in this one? Oh, by the way, this question is the poll on today's live video. We've got almost 100 votes in there right now. 58% going with the Bucs. Now, you can only vote once on the live poll, but you can vote as many times as you want in the comment section. So go vote in the poll and then flood the comments with your answer. Again, 59% now, which has changed, going with the Bucs right there, 41% for the Cowboys. In the comments, probably a similar metric there. The Bucs are a 7.5-point favorite in this one. That, of course, was set before the Zach Martin COVID reveal, but that hasn't really changed all that much. I still think the likely outcome is the Bucs end up winning this game, but get your votes in. C for the Cowboys, or you can type in B for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, if you guys want us to get today's show started, do me a favor and like the video. A disappointing start. We've got only about 100 people watching, and over 100 people now, excuse me. Only 30 likes. That's so sad. We should at least be able to get to 50 real quick here. But help us out. Help more people see that we're live right now by liking today's video. Now, here's what we've got coming up on tap for you guys today. A bunch of NFL rumors and some news, some fairly notable roster moves. I also want to hit at the back end of that. Not one, but two NFL mailbags. As always, folks, there are two ways to get on the show. Either A, use hashtag NFL. That gets you in the queue for producer Sam to find your questions. Or you can super chat. You super chat, you become the MVP of today's show. So far, no MVPs. We will also run through some of the top NFL free agents left with the 2021 season finally, at long last, just days away. So stick around for our entire NFL live show right now. Let's get into the latest NFL rumors and news on today's show, and we begin with Saquon Barkley. Now, Barkley tore his ACL week 2 last year, and there's been some discussion, some buzz, whether or not Barkley's going to be good to go in time for week 1, what his injury status is going to be all season long. Here's the update. The Giants are ramping up Barkley's workload, and he's getting closer to being cleared in time for week 1. I do wonder, in terms of like his actual in-game reps, if we will see Saquon Barkley on a little bit more limited workload. In the modern day NFL, you see teams don't give, outside of like Derrick Henry and maybe Christian McCaffrey, a 98% or 90% snap count. The numbers end up being a little bit less. I think we'll see something similar for Saquon. Last time we saw him, 2020, ineffective. Now, a big portion of that was because the offensive line was bad, although that offensive line still might not be that good for the Giants, given they've desperately tried to add help with Ben Bredeson and Billy Price, who, well, maybe Bredeson's the more intriguing guy, and we'll see if Billy Price change of location, if the senior change is enough for him. 2019, though, he was a much better football player, and Barkley is such a home run threat. The Giants need him out there, given what they've invested in, what they have behind him as well, if they're going to be a true playoff contender. Devontae Booker, Gary Brightwell are RB2, RB3. Dexter Williams, more so than Platzgummer, is the intriguing name to watch, since Platzgummer is on that NFL player pathway exception for the practice squad. If Barkley can't go for some reason in week 1, don't be surprised if Dexter Williams gets the call-up for that first game in order to help out the numbers on that center. We can promote guys in the practice squad this year. But I'm, as a gambling man, I'm betting on Saquon Barkley being able to play week 1 for the Giants. My bigger concern is he stays healthy, right? We know he's a freak athlete, but this recovery timeline is a little bit slower than what I thought it was going to be. I thought he would be 100% cleared by now. That's not the case. So with that in mind, make your predictions for me in the comments section. How many games will Saquon Barkley play this season? Let's talk Cam Newton and the Houston Texans now. The Texans have been listed as the betting favorite for Cam Newton, and that's an intriguing potential destination. Based purely on what they are at this stage of their NFL careers, quarterbacks, Newton, you can make an argument, is better than Tyrod Taylor. I also wonder if Cam Newton wants to go to Houston, if Houston wants to bring in Cam Newton, and what the game plan overall is going to be for Newton after he went from being a starter in New England to being cut. Now, here are the odds, 8 teams in total via BetUS, of Cam's next football team. The Texans are your favorite, plus 150. The Ravens, which I like as a dark horse, and the Cowboys, both at plus 350, although maybe Ravens aren't a dark horse given where they're at there at plus 350. Denver at plus 550. 2 teams with heavy ties to Cam Newton. Carolina plus 900. Washington plus 1,200. Pittsburgh plus 1,400. And the Giants way down there at 1,600. Now you can bet on these Cam Newton odds with our sportsbook partner, BetUS. In fact, they're going to give you money to sign up with them. If you head over to chatsports.com/bet, if you create an account, put down $100, they're going to give you an extra $125 to bet with. So you can put $5, $10, $15, whatever on Cam Newton, where everything is going to go. If you hit, awesome, even more money. If you lose, you are literally playing with house money right now. So go head over to chatsports.com/bet. Use promo code NFL Daily when you sign up and deposit to get that 125% deposit bonus. Houston, I do think, makes some sense because of some iffy quarterback situations. Tyrod Taylor is the starter right now. We know he's not that great. The problem for Houston is that even if Cam Newton is an upgrade over Tyrod Taylor, is Cam Newton going to be enough to make them a better football team, substantially better than what they were when they had Deshaun Watson last year? My answer is no. Even if Houston signs Cam Newton, even if he is an upgrade at quarterback, they're still going to be a bottom NFL team. I don't see Houston competing legitimately for a playoff spot. Because of that, I think for Houston, it makes a lot more sense to, even though Cam, I think, could be a decent scheme fit, could run the offense, offers so much ability on the ground, to instead see what Davis Mills can do at quarterback, to see if he is maybe, probably not, your future at the position. So I get the connection between Cam Newton and Houston. I'm just unconvinced he really ends up being the guy or an upgrade that makes sense for them in the end. So make your predictions. Where do you guys think Cam Newton will sign? Get your votes in for me right now in the comments section. The Houston Texans have officially named their starting quarterback. It is not Deshaun Watson or Davis Mills. Instead, it is Tyrod Taylor, or Tyrod, depending on how you want to pronounce it. He's fine either way. This is not really a surprise, as Taylor had worked as the starter all preseason, offseason, and training camp. In fact, Deshaun Watson right now is buried on the depth chart as the third stringer, and frankly, I don't know if he plays at all this year. In fact, I lean towards he does not end up playing. So the veteran Taylor, at least for the time being, is getting the starting nod for Houston. He didn't play much last year, and frankly, hasn't played that much over the past 3 seasons. 4 starts in that time frame. Has played for Cleveland and LA, of course, lost the job last year when he had the punctured lung from the team doctor. And then Justin Herbert emerged and was just so much better. Not great accuracy, not great stats overall. I think it's only a matter of time before the Texans give Davis Mills a shot. He is the 3rd-round pick out of Stanford. He's young and he's raw, but if you're Houston, you're going to have to see if Davis Mills is your guy, because you might be drafting the top 3 or 4 next year. And if that's the case, you got to figure out quickly if Davis Mills is your guy or if you got to look elsewhere, even if it's not that great of a top-tier quarterback class in the 2022 NFL Draft. In the end, you kind of know my answer. I don't think Tyrod Taylor starts every game for the Houston Texans, but I still want you guys to get your votes in for me. What do you think ends up happening? Does he start every game? Why for yes or and for no? Let's talk TJ Watt and his hold in and why this should probably be a bit of a bigger story than what it is right now from a national media perspective. TJ Watt has, as he's been all off season, looking for a new contract. He's been in what we call holding in, meaning he's there, he's at the facility, he's not practicing, but he's just there, so he's not technically holding out, so he does not get fined. The Steelers in general, this is the way they've operated for years. Great tidbit from Albert Breer here. They don't like guaranteeing money in future years. They don't like negotiating once the season starts, and they don't love doing extensions with players who have more than a year left on their contract. Now, Watt doesn't really matter so much to that last note. However, the Steelers kind of got to pay TJ Watt a lot of money. TJ Watt is going to be searching for more than what Joey Bosa got. That is the reality of the situation for Pittsburgh because of how awesome TJ Watt has been. $28 million per year on admittedly probably a 5 or 6 year deal is what I expect TJ Watt to ask for. Guys, he's incredible. These numbers are obscene. 23 tackles for loss, 15 sacks, 41 quarterback hits. The dude's hitting the quarterback like 2.5 times per game. Those numbers are not matched very often. Watt has been incredible. He is one of, if not the outright best edge rushers in the NFL. And now you're starting to maybe get the whisper and buzz of TJ Watt skip week 1. He's been holding in. Now, I would lean towards no, he plays week 1 because he doesn't want to miss out on game checks, which are still fairly substantial for him. But it's kind of gone under the radar, I think surprisingly so, the fact that one of the best defensive players has one. There was so much discussion around Jamal Adams, for example, and very little around TJ Watt. Interesting to me. So what do you guys think? Would you make this all go away and simply make TJ Watt the highest paid defensive player? I absolutely would. He's young and he's that caliber of player, but what do you guys think? 1 for yes, you would. 2 for no, you would not. Now, we're going to keep you guys covered all season long, videos all the time on everything that matters and even some stuff that doesn't matter in the NFL. If you want consistent updates, you guys have come to the right spot. It's very simple. Hit that big red button and subscribe. When news happens, when there's interesting rumors, and the trade deadline will pick up speed in the not-too-distant future as well, hit that big red button and subscribe. Let's talk trade now. Bryce Callahan, could he be dealt into the New York Jets? Makes sense. There was a report that the Broncos are open to trading Callahan. Now, I think part of that was open if we get a big-time offer, which is fair because, A, that's how all NFL teams tend to operate, and B, the Broncos have great depth at corner, and C, teams need cornerback help, and Bryce Callahan is a very good football player. The Jets make sense as a destination because, as we'll get into, their cornerback room is bad. Now, Callahan only played in 10 games last year, but his production from a coverage standpoint was incredible. 54.4% in terms of his completion percentage, 205 yards, 0 touchdowns allowed, 2 interceptions, 5 pass breakups. The long-term future for Callahan in Denver might be a little bit murky, but Denver seems to love corners, so I'm not convinced they trade him. In terms of which team needs Callahan the most, I don't think there's a team in the NFL that has a worse and, frankly, I'd say limited upside cornerback room than the New York Jets. Bryce Hall, Brandon Echols, and Javelin Guidry, Jason Pinnock, Isaiah Dunn, Michael Carter, the non-running back, the cornerback version, Justin Hardy, those guys were not early draft picks. I'm a big fan of Bryce Hall. I think there's upside there. He hasn't proven really anything yet in his young NFL career. Bryce Callahan comes in and is instantly head and shoulders better than any cornerback on that roster, although he doesn't fit the typical style of what Robert Saleh has liked in San Francisco as part of that more cover 3 Seahawks style defense. So I would have interest, but also if you're the Jets, the flip side here, does an almost 30-year-old corner really fit your timeline? I'm not so sure. So get your votes in for me in the comments section. What draft pick do you think Bryce Callahan is worth in a trade? Is he worth a second-round pick or a third-round pick? Get your votes in for me in the comments section. Some Jets roster moves to discuss now, as they've made a couple notable additions to their active roster and to their practice squad. First up, they've signed Sheldrick Redwine, the former Cleveland Browns safety. He'll provide some added depth. In fact, I would bet he ends up being safety 3 fairly quickly for New York behind LaMarcus Joyner and Marcus May. Remember, Ashton Davis is currently on IR. I like the safety duo in New York. It's the cornerback room that I'm not quite sold on. Next up is Josh Adams. He's been brought back to the active roster as well. The former Notre Dame product is extra depth at the position, which I think will be an intriguing rotation this year with Tevin Coleman, LaMichael Pirine, Michael Carter, Ty Johnson in that conversation as well. Down the road, probably this year, I bet Michael Carter emerges at some point. But I think you'll see Coleman, Pirine, Carter, and Johnson all get carries at some point this season, which complicates things from a fantasy perspective, I know. Now for the practice squad, 2 guys who have pretty decent amount of NFL experience, both of them at safety for New York. Tyrod Wilson, who's played some time for the Jags in particular, 69 tackles last year. Practice squad guy, it's very nice. Good point there, Producer Sam. Nice tackle production right there from Wilson. Not elite, but he does give you great depth on that practice squad. So too does Adrian Colbert, who knows the Niners scheme from his, time in San Francisco. I'm pretty sure the overlap there with Robert Saleh as well. So Colbert comes in, both Colbert and Wilson on the practice squad, giving some veteran depth guys there for the New York Jets. Saints roster moves now, as they've brought back 2 names that we all knew were going to be back at some point. First up is Chris Hogan, the wide receiver, as a vested veteran, had been released, then brought back once Saints kind of played around with some of their roster moves. He's now wide receiver 6-ish, I guess, on this depth chart. Marquez Callaway, Traquan Smith, 1-2. Deontay Harris has some fun speed. Lil Jordan Humphrey, elite name, also got some decent slot ability too. Ty Montgomery, kind of the running back receiver hybrid, then Chris Hogan for a rather thin and concerning group as Michael Thomas hangs out on the PUP list for at least the first 6 weeks of the NFL season. The Saints have also brought back Trevor Siemian, which means, by the way, New Orleans is going very deep at the quarterback position. They're carrying 4 players on their active roster. Now, make no mistake, it does help that Taysom Hill is a part-time special teamer, part-time H-back, part-time tight end, whatever you want to call him. He's still quarterback too. He's going to play in that Taysom Hill special role. Jameis Winston's the starter. Ian Book then, he might be a redshirt year guy. That's my guess with Trevor Siemian on the active roster, but we'll see. The Saints had said they wanted to bring back Siemian and Chris Hogan, and that's exactly what they end up doing officially today. Mailbag coming up. Before we get to that, though, shout out your favorite NFL team for me in the comments section. All these votes come in. I'm going to sip some water here. Who is your favorite NFL team? No wrong answers. Pick whichever one you want. Give a chance coming. I know Steven's a Titans fan because he's got the Titans profile picture there. I see. Oh, rapid fire, boys and girls. Browns, Bears, Vikings, Cowboys, Bears, Seahawks, Dolphins, exclamation point from Ed in there. Back-to-back Dolphins from Ed and Lissa. Bears, Giants, Cowboys, Raiders, Bears, Panthers, Seahawks, Chiefs, Browns, Raiders, Cowboys, Raiders, Broncos, Cowboys, Washington, Raiders, Patriots, Browns, Cowboys, Seahawks, Broncos, Dolphins, Giants, Raiders, Cowboys, and then I see Texans in there as well and Panthers on top of that. So keep the comments coming, your favorite NFL team. It is mailbag time, and as always, folks, there are 2 ways to get on the show. Number 1, use hashtag NFL. That gets you in the queue to have producer Sam find your question. Who it's pronounced Q, mouthful of food, Sam. Q to get your questions on the show. Or if you want to jump the line altogether, very simply, Super Chat. We'll pull you to the front and get your question on air. So those are your 2 ways. Get your questions in as you go. Again, so far, no Super Chats. MVP to the first person who Super Chats today. Hope we can anoint one, but so far, nothing at this point. It's mailbag time, folks, and it's made possible by our friends over at Magic Spoon. Get $5 off your first order of this healthy and incredibly delicious cereal. Look at that. Zero sugar, high in protein as well. $5 off your first order at magicspoon.com/chat. First up from Yuri, where does Todd Gurley sign? I have no idea. I thought it seemed like the Ravens could make some sense since they brought him in for a visit. I am concerned about Todd Gurley because he did not look very good down the stretch last year. I think at this point, Gurley might wait for an injury. Maybe the Ravens decided that they don't like Tyson Williams that much. They look back at that direction. Dolphins could always be a fit if they run into issues. I think injury-wise, wait and see. You might see Gurley sign if there's any running back injury, which always happens. So injuries happen. You might see guys end up waiting from that perspective. From a Robert Bruce. Hello, Tom. Hello, Sam. I'll skip the other 2 people who couldn't even be bothered to show up today. Hope you're all well. Who do you believe Mac Jones' backup will be, please? They're supposed to bring back, if they haven't officially by the time this ends up going out, they're supposed to bring back Brian Hoyer. That will be the backup quarterback. So he's just there to be the vet mentor type of role there. So it's just a matter of, I think, when. I think Hoyer technically is on the practice squad, just like Garrett Gilbert. So I bet you see Hoyer get activated for 2 days to the active roster, 2 games, and then they'll bring him back officially as the backup on the active roster at some point this season. From Vincent, predictions on Akello Witherspoon. Look, I was a bit surprised that he went from being the assumed starter to dealt very quickly by Seattle. He kind of lost his job. There's upside there with Akello. The issue is he's never quite emerged as the guy that his athletic traits and size suggest he could be. Consistency's been an issue. I am intrigued by him. we'll have to wait and see. I think it was a good pickup by the Steelers in terms of giving them a potential starting option as depth. Those are tough to find at the cornerback position. From Amos Jefferson, any chance the Broncos sign Cam if he stays a free agent and the quarterbacks struggle? Maybe. I lean towards no, because if Teddy Bridgewater is bad and Drew Lock is bad too, Denver is probably at that point in the season where it's all over, and they're just going to keep playing Drew Lock to see if the young guy can show some promise down the stretch. So I get it. If there are injuries at quarterback to Denver, that starts to make more sense, because in theory they could still be contending at that point. I don't know what happens to Cam Newton. He might try to wait for an injury, or maybe he goes the Jameis Winston route and signs with as a veteran backup to sit and learn for a year, which that could maybe make some sense. What do you guys think, though, as it relates to Cam Newton? Will he start a game this season? Get your votes in. This is the pinned comment on today's video. 1 for yes or 0 for no. If you get the ad break, go get your votes in right now. Super chat from Anthony, the initial MVP today. Where do you see the Giants this season record? I don't believe in Jason Garrett. I don't believe in Daniel Jones. I think around 6 wins. I like the defense. I like some of the skill guys, but a bad O-line still. I don't believe in Daniel Jones and Jason Garrett. I just don't like that combination on offense. I think you'll see some changes on that staff, probably at OC, going forward next year. From Jeremiah Seavey, do the Ravens need to sign a running back, or are they good with Tyson Williams? I think they want to see what Tyson Williams can do, a potential intriguing dark horse running back, by the way, deep in your fantasy drafts or in a dynasty league. I would feel more comfortable if they added somebody. I don't think they have to go sign a back, but I think they like Williams. If that's not the way that they feel, if they get concerned there, then yeah, I think they got to go find a new back. There are a lot of snaps and touches to replace with J.K. Dobbins out for the year. Williams could be that guy. If he's not, though, they got to look in a direction, because I don't think you want to give Gus Edwards every single touch, or almost every single touch this season. Today's show is made possible by our friends over at Magic Spoon. Get $5 off your first order at magicspoon.com/chat. That link, by the way, will be in both the comment section and in the description. Magic Spoon is an incredible blend of health and taste. High in protein, 13 to 14 grams in every bowl. Low in carbs, only 4 grams of net carbs in each bowl. And 0 sugar. Despite all of that, you'd never know that there's 0 sugar in this product. It tastes incredible, just like the stuff you grew up with, whether that was the Fruit Loops, the Cocoa Pebbles, whatever. It tastes just like it. So get $5 off your first order at magicspoon.com/chat. And yes, folks, there will be a link in the comments section and in the description to make your lives just a little bit easier. Super chat now from Mike Dibble. Hey, Tom, hope you're having a good day. Thank you. I am, Mike. Hope you're having a good one, too. Any good free agents to help out the Browns before they face the Chiefs? I think at this point, most teams are not going to sign players. There's the adjustment period for the time for the playbook. What I think you will see is that teams will sign players after week 1 where veterans' contracts do not fully guarantee. That might make a bit more sense. Honestly, I like the Browns roster. I think they're in pretty good shape, barring injury, in terms of the guys out there versus the guys on their roster right now. Eddie DeJesus, I think that's how you pronounce your last name there, my friend. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. He just says hit the like button. Eddie's right. Thank you, Eddie. Everyone watching right now, do us a favor. Like the video. It's very simple. Hit that like button. From Super Yoshi, where should LaShawn McCoy? I think you meant sign. At this point, I kind of think Shady's cooked. Like he was solid in 2019, but he's had less than 3.3 yards per carry in 2 of the past 3 years. That's significant. So, look, LaShawn McCoy is 33 years old. I think there are better free agent backs out there. If there are a bunch of injuries, then sure, call LaShawn McCoy at that point. But The Bucs didn't want him anymore. I think Tampa at this point doesn't want him. I don't really know where Shady ends up going at this stage. From Evan Hinders, I think Michael Pittman Jr. will have a Pro Bowl year. 97 targets, 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns. I like Michael Pittman as a breakout player. I think he's going to be the lead receiver for the Colts. So I think that is within the range of outcomes for him. I think there's a lot of upside there, a lot of potential. I worry about the Colts quarterback situation in general, but if there is a breakout player on that Colts receiving core, I definitely think it ends up being Michael Pittman in terms of the Colts receiver who has a big-time breakout year. So we'll see, but I'm intrigued by the upside there for Michael Pittman. So maybe not quite that much production, but I think it's a good name to keep an eye out there. From Jason Joyner, what did you think of signing Bless Austin? That's the Seahawks adding a corner. Clearly, Seattle is very concerned about their cornerback room. Think about what they've done in the past, week-ish? They traded for John Reed, now on their practice squad. They traded for Sidney Jones. They traded away Akello Witherspoon. Now they've also signed Nigel Warrior and Bless Austin. That is a clear indication of concern in that cornerback room. Now, I actually liked Bless Austin. I was surprised the Jets cut him, given how not good they are at corner. Maybe that says more about Bless Austin than does the Jets, but I would argue it's a pretty significant, noteworthy move there by the Seahawks. Does he start? Who knows, but I like him as a depth pickup. Now, if you guys want more videos every single day on everything going on around the NFL, hit that big red button and subscribe. The link is at the bottom of your screen, but you're watching on YouTube, so just subscribe right now. From Mike Williams, 0728, score predictions for the Cowboys versus the Bucs. I say 35-17. I think I had like 31-24 on my preview, which I don't remember what I did anymore. I think that the Buccaneers win this game. I thought that before the Zach Martin COVID diagnosis. The Bucs have a much better defense. They're at home, defending champs. Cowboys are installing another new defense. The Cowboys have a chance, but I got the Bucs in this game. So we'll see what ends up happening in the end. Super chat, by the way, from Super Yoshi, $1. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that very much. From Fred Phillips, will the Seahawks sign Geno Atkins? Maybe. Seattle did bring Atkins in for a visit before the end of the preseason. No signing then, so maybe money was discussed, and that was an issue there. Also, keep this in mind. After week 1, veteran players' contracts no longer fully guaranteed. They're not vested veterans at that point. So, you might see some of these older guys, like a Geno Atkins, for example, not sign immediately. You might see them sign after week 1, so the team has some flexibility in case they end up not being that great. Otherwise, it'd be a fully guaranteed season salary for a guy like Geno Atkins. Speaking of free agents, what NFL free agent still left unsigned do you want your team to sign? Get your votes in for me in the comments section. Elise Pinn, who would be a better backup quarterback for Dak Prescott? Cam Newton or Colin Kaepernick? Whichever one gets vaccinated, because you can't risk that for your quarterback. In all seriousness, though, there is a very clear answer. It's Cam Newton. Cam Newton has played football recently. Colin Kaepernick, did he get blackballed by the NFL? You're damn right. It's been years. Colin Kaepernick is not coming back. It's just not going to happen. So I get that he was once great. So is Cam Newton. Cam's played more recently. It's Cam Newton by a pretty easy margin there. From Caleb Edelman, Super Bowl winners for 2021. The Chiefs take down Chiefs take down the Packers as the Aaron Rodgers revenge tour comes up just a little bit short. I don't mind the Bills. I don't mind the Browns out of the AFC. In the NFC, I don't think the Bucs make it back, but who knows? It's Tom Brady, and we should never, ever, ever bet against him. From Melissa Tatum, do you think Miami trades Preston Williams? Maybe. Preston Williams, I think, might have some value. Now, there are some injury concerns over the years with Preston Williams as well. He's got great size. I don't think he's going to be really anything more than maybe a receiver 3 or 4 on this Dolphins roster, at least in the short term. So if there's interest, would help you clear up a roster spot for Will Fuller. I lean towards no, they don't, but I think there is a possibility of it. So in terms of the often unrealistic names mentioned for trades, I think Preston Williams is actually a good one to discuss. From James Castillo, what do you think the Cowboys' offensive line will look like without Martin this week? If you mean like the lineup, it'll be Tyron Smith at left tackle, Connor Williams, Tyler Biadasz, Connor McGovern, and Lael Collins. It's not going to be as good. That interior of the Cowboys' offensive line of the 2 Connors and Biadasz gets a very difficult test. Vita Vea is going to feast, and Ndamukong Suh's back. I don't feel great about that Cowboys interior O-line against the Bucs defense, but then again, most interior O-line should not feel great against that Bucs defense. From Stuart Jenkins, will the Chiefs go from having one of the worst offensive lines to one of the best, even with their first-year players? It's an entirely new offensive line. Orlando Brown, acquired via trade. Joe Thuney, via free agency. Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, draft picks. Lucas Niang was a draft pick last year but did not play. He opted out. I think they will be better. Now, they're still going to lead to some sacks. Mahomes takes very deep drops in the pocket. It's okay because he makes enough plays to make it worthwhile. He does put more pressure, though, on his offensive line. I think they'll be a more than good enough unit. Will they be among the NFL's best? Might be asking a little bit too much right away from 3 guys who have not played an NFL snap, but I think they'll be more than good enough and a hell of a lot better than what we saw in the Super Bowl against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Who do you think is the most underrated player in the NFL? Jesse Bates might be so underrated he does not qualify for this anymore. But let me know what you guys think. Who do you believe is the most underrated player in the NFL? From Juan Hernandez, how many sacks do you think KJ Wright will have for the Raiders? I mean, he's not going to be a major edge rusher. Now, he'll play some strong side linebacker, but he had 2 last year for Seattle, 0 the previous 2 years combined. So I think maybe 1.5 is a decent over-under for KJ. His career high was 4 back in 2016, but he normally gets a sack and maybe 1 or 2 more each season. So I think sack-wise, you're probably in that 2-ish range for him in the end. David Evans coming in late. You're just in time, David. Where do you believe Denver should give one more look into before the season starts? I mean, it's too late because the answer is quarterback. You're stuck at that position. Beyond that, I got the depth chart pulled up here. I love the defense. If you want to add maybe a backup edge, I guess you could, but I think you're fine there. Offensive line is as good as it's going to get. Honestly, I think they're fine. It's just a matter of, does the quarterback work out enough? Jeremiah Robinson. Will Caleb Farley work out? I hope so. I loved him at Virginia Tech up until his second back surgery. There's going to be an adjustment period for Caleb Farley. So my answer is be patient. Don't base everything off of the first year. It's going to be up. It's going to be down. It's not going to be a finished product. Life as a rookie corner is incredibly hard, no matter how good you are. Ask Jeffrey Okudah. So you got to have some time, have some patience, and be mentally strong up there. I think Caleb Farley checks out on that last box. We'll see about all 3, though, as the season goes on. Are you guys subbed to Chat Sports? Type in Y for yes, or type in H for no. I hate fun. The answer should be yes, but maybe it is, maybe it isn't. So get your votes in while I sip some water here because my throat's getting all scratchy. Turns out 45 minutes of straight talking makes my throat dry out. Who would have guessed? Also, maybe phrasing there. Y for yes or H for you hate fun. Goat, Steve, Lissa, Juan, Max, Trevor. Oh, maybe not Trevor. Lissa saying yes. Trevor says he hates fun. Why do you hate fun, Trevor? We like to have fun here at Chat Sports. Who else just takes shots, ripping them constantly on air? Nobody out there. So if you want to have some more fun, Trevor, now he's typing in Y for yes. That's my man. Thank you, Trevor. Y for yes, H for you hate fun, which is kind of weird. Get that changed. Have some fun with us here at Chat Sports by subscribing right now. The top NFL free agents left is made possible by Magic Spoon. Get $5 off your first order of this healthy and incredibly tasting, delicious cereal when you go to magicspoon.com/chat. The maple waffle, by the way, smells incredible. Get $5 off your first order at magicspoon.com/chat. You can smell it all the way through the still closed box. That's how strong and pungent that delicious smell is. All right, to the top free agents, right? Number 1, Cam Newton. He went from starting for the Patriots, in theory, to being a free agent. Now, I don't know what Newton's plan is going to be. He could choose to wait, see if there's an injury somewhere, then slide in. Or maybe he just says, you know what, I'll go be a backup in a certain spot. I don't know what he will elect to do. Also, there is this very real thing with his vaccination status. That could be an issue. NFL teams, if they've got a critical part of their quarterback, they don't want to have their backup quarterback end up resulting in either the quarterback getting declared out for a game and or sick, or the quarterback getting a breakthrough case and the backup being out because he's a close contact. That's a bad situation for an NFL team. So Newton, talent-wise, unquestionably, is one of the top 40 at minimum. Like, he's still a contributable NFL player. He also offers plenty of run ability, although I wonder if the run ability has led to some decline in the passing because he's taken a just absolute beating over the years. So yes, Cam Newton, the player, still contributes, still helps an NFL team. It's the injuries, it's the passing regression to an extent, and the vaccination status too that could be an issue. Somebody should still sign Cam Newton. The Ravens, I like as a good fit there. But what do you guys think? Where will Cam Newton end up signing? Get your votes and predictions in for me in the comments section. Number 2, Russell Okung. If you're a bit surprised he's unsigned, me too. Now, injury a factor here, as it is for so many of the guys on this top 15 list. He's played in 13 games in the past 2 years. He's also been a 2-time Pro Bowler. Allegedly, reportedly, Okung wanted big-time money to start at left tackle, and teams were like, no, you're coming off of injury. Now he's unsigned. At this stage, I think Okung will choose to wait and see, hey, is there an injury somewhere? Does he end up being the guy somewhere else? Do they try to play the waiting game and decide, hey, can we find a position where, you know, there's an injury to a starting left tackle somewhere, and then they look at their depth chart and they go, oh my God, it's terrible behind him. And then they decide to sign Russell Okung. That particular route, I think, makes a lot of sense for Okung and for an NFL team. I don't think he wants to be a backup tackle right now. So if he wants to play the waiting game and then be healthy for an entire season, that could make a lot of sense for Russell Okung. All right, next up, number 3, John Brown, the former Las Vegas Raiders receiver. Surprise roster cut by Vegas. Now, he battled injuries last year, as you can tell by his stats, wasn't that impactful. 2019, however, John Brown was a much better football player and made a much bigger impact. Over 1,000 yards. It's not often that there's a guy 1 year removed from a 1,000-yard season who is a free agent. And there are several teams that should have some semblance of interest in adding John Brown. I wonder if teams are waiting for this, though. After week 1, vested veteran contracts no longer become fully guaranteed. I think you'll see some movement on this list after week 1. Now, this question is our pinned comment on today's video. Meaning, if you get the ad break here on YouTube, scroll down, head to that pinned comment, and answer this question. Who do you believe is the best NFL free agent left unsigned? Next up is Mitchell Schwartz. Based solely on his talent level, he should be number 1. But I docked him down a little bit, plus some other linemen that we'll discuss, because I don't know if he actually plays this year. When he's been healthy, there have been maybe a handful of better right tackles in the NFL than Mitchell Schwartz. The issue is the medical is a major red flag. And I just wonder if he's not physically able to play anymore. Because a team should have signed him. Nobody has. That makes me question the medical pretty substantially. The same is true of David DeCastro. Now, when he was cut by the Steelers, everyone was like, wait, what? Why? He's good, right? Well, injuries, also a big-time factor here, and he might end up retiring. Now, maybe he makes that call next year, give himself a full season to get fully healthy. When healthy, he is at minimum a starting caliber guard, which there are not enough of those in today's NFL. The O-line play, normally not great. But the medical for DeCastro and Schwartz is a big-time question mark. Number 6, Richard Sherman, who was in our top 25 for much of the season, or the offseason, I should say, excuse me. But now, there was a very slow market to start. No one picked him up. And then the stock took a nosedive after his arrest and misdemeanor charges following his July incident. And I have no idea now if Richard Sherman is going to play this year. Talent-wise, I would argue that Sherman, DeCastro, and Mitchell are all among some of the most talented players left in free agency. But because of the question marks off the field, I group them together because I don't know if they're going to play. So who do you think is most likely to play this year? MS for Mitchell Schwartz, DD for David DeCastro, or RS for Richard Sherman? Number 7, another injured guy, Olivier Vernon. He was awesome last year. 9 sacks, a bunch of tackles for loss, had an awesome season. He was going to get paid a bunch of money, and then in January, tears his Achilles. And the fact that Vernon, even though he's on the wrong side of 30, is still unsigned after a 9-sack season, indicative to me of medical issues. Healthy guys, even at age 30 off a 9-sack season, do not wait till September to sign unless they're unhealthy. So we'll see about Vernon, but if he does get cleared and is able to play and returns to form, someone is going to get a steal. Number 8, Geno Atkins. He has been medically cleared by the Cowboys team doctor who did his surgery for his shoulder. The issue for Atkins isn't just the injury. It's that the decline has set in. Now, he fell out of favor with the Bengals really the past 2 years, but his production level has not been remotely what we remember from the Pro Bowl caliber defensive tackle. At this stage, in both the season, with both where he's at in his career, and with the injuries, I don't think Atkins is worth much more than a vet minimum deal. The Seahawks brought him in for a visit. We'll see who else shows interest, if anyone, as the season moves along. You guys can get $5 off your first order of the number 1 healthy and tasty cereal out there at magicspoon.com/chat. This stuff, high in protein. 13 grams of protein, 4 grams of net carbs. I broke 80 on the golf course for the first time in months. I think it's because I ate my Magic Spoon beforehand. There's a direct correlation there. It also got 0 sugar, so I didn't feel kind of gross and bloated a little bit either. It's the perfect blend of health and taste. Tons of flavors. I had the frosted that morning. It was incredible. They've got fruity, they've got cocoa, they've got peanut butter, they've got all kinds of stuff. So go try your first box, or maybe get a 4-pack, and save $5 in the process by going to magicspoon.com/chat. Number 9, safety Trey Boston. I have officially grouped Boston in what I call the Desmond King category. Players I think are pretty good. I think most people would agree with me, but the NFL does not feel the same way. A starting safety from last year who's a free agent, it's a bit rare. So I don't think the NFL is as high on Boston as I think some other people are as well. So some difference of opinion there from that point. Number 10, our little running back stretch now. First up is Todd Gurley. All-Pro in 2017, All-Pro in 2018. He ain't that guy anymore. He ain't that guy. He is not remotely that caliber of player. The injuries have added up. Just 3.8 yards per carry in 2019 and 3.5 last season. Down the stretch, the back half of the season for the Atlanta Falcons last season, Todd Gurley, he couldn't move, man. He was getting like 2 yards per carry a game. Genuinely, I could get that. Now, I would die after my first couple hits, but I could do it over 5 carries or so. Todd Gurley did not look like the same guy that we all loved at the beginning of his career with the LA Rams. I think that a culmination of injuries over the years have really begun to add up for Todd Gurley. And I wonder if he's pretty much cooked. But I still think somebody at some point gives him one last shot. Now, if you guys want updates on these top free agents, if you want the news, the rumors, the trade buzz, and all kinds of NFL coverage this season, hit that big red button and subscribe today. That way you don't miss out on anything here at Chat Sports. Number 11, a first ballot Hall of Famer, Adrian Peterson. He says he still wants to play. Peterson, I do believe, can still play. His numbers bear that out. Just under 4 yards per carry. Better than Todd Gurley. Here's the problem, and this is just life in the NFL. It's a miracle Peterson's lasted as long as he has. 36-year-old backs who do not contribute that much on passing downs and offer you no special teams value don't often get signed. There is an ageist thing in the NFL. If you don't help on special teams, you're not going to make it as a number 3 back. Adrian Peterson is definitely one of the top 90 backs in the NFL. But that's not how the back of rosters are formed. Teams go cheap and they go young. That is not Peterson. But if somebody gets hurt, I bet he's one of the first names that get talked about in team front offices. Number 12, Lev Bell. Since his time with Pittsburgh, he's just not the same, man. Now, he does offer third down ability, but his time with KC didn't end that well. I think that's a red flag for other teams because didn't end well with Pittsburgh, didn't end that well with the Jets, didn't end that well with KC. Now, Antonio Brown got one last chance in Tampa. Who's going to bring in Lev Bell, if anybody? Again, this might be a wait for an injury situation. So I think Bell can still help, but I think he might have to wait a little bit longer. Now, of the big 3 backs still available, sorry, LaShawn McCoy, pick one for me. Type LB for Lev Bell, type TG for Tiger, or type in AD, his real nickname, not AP. It's AD, guys, for Adrian Peterson. Receiver time, Kenny Stills. Now, injured last year, ineffective as well. He's not that far removed, though, from being a dangerous deep threat wide receiver. Even 2019, over 500 yards on 55 targets. That's not that bad. The problem is, at his age and his lack of efficiency over his NFL career and consistency, he just might be what he is at this point, and I don't think there's that much value for an aging vertical threat, unless your name is Deshaun Jackson. Number 14, D. Jackson's old teammate, Alshon Jeffrey. The injuries have become a major problem. The production, the play has dipped for years. And this might sound crazy. Alshon Jeffrey has not had a 1,000-yard season since 2014. That's a long time for an alleged number 1 receiver to not be productive. Even in 2019, he wasn't that good. So, big name. Injury's a problem. I wanted to mention because I think everyone knows the name Alshon Jeffrey than some of the other not great free agents out there. He's not the same guy he was in his prime. He's not even close to it in the end. Because of that, I don't know if there's going to be that much interest in Jeffrey right now. But if you have to pick one of these guys, who would it be? Type KS for Kenny Stills. Type AJ for Alshon Jeffrey. One last defensive player, Kawan Short. And injuries, again, a very common theme on this list. That's why they're available with days until the season begins. Major injury issues. 5 games in the past 2 years. In the past 3 years, he's had just 3 sacks, putting up an average of 8 in 2015, 16, and 17. Is he worth a flyer? Sure. Is he a solution long-term? I don't think so at this point in his NFL career. Last mailbag's coming up. Before we get to that, though, who you got week 1? Cowboys or the Bucks? Type C for the Cowboys or B for the Buccaneers. Let me sip some water because my throat's getting all scratchy again. I'm not scratching my throat. It's getting scratchy. Something talking is making it scratchy. Sam. This is the live poll, by the way, that's pinned. 68% say Bucks. One away from being nice. Just 1 percentage point from being a nice result right there. You can also vote in the comments section. C for the Cowboys or B for the Buccaneers. I see C's from Thomas Leach and Elise and Darkman. B's from G-Man John and Ralph and James and Gray and Rory and Steve. C's from Rashard Lee, and then B's from NBW Doughboy and Benibo Gaming. So keep those votes coming. C for the Cowboys or B for the Buccaneers. It is mailbag time, folks, and as always, 2 ways to get on the show. Number 1, simply use hashtag NFL. That will get you in the queue, or queue, as producer Sam calls it, to get your questions on the show. If you want to skip that line, jump to the front, you can use, or you can super chat. So those are your 2 routes. Number 1, use hashtag NFL. Number 2 is you can super chat. I do want to shout out earlier super chats from Super Yoshi and Mike Williams and Eddie and Mike and Jeremiah and Anthony. They super chatted in the first Q&A, but the second one is coming up right now. So again, get your questions in, hashtag NFL, or super chat to skip the line instead. It's mailbag time here at Chat Sports. All the questions coming in from our live audience. So if you want your questions on the show, go ahead and subscribe. That way you don't miss out in the future. From Cole, who should I sign in fantasy after dropping Kadarius Toney? When I drafted him, I didn't consider the team he's on. It's very tough for me to answer that without knowing, who's available in your waiver wire, and how many, what formats you're in, how many players there are. So I'm sure there's a receiver who's out there that could make some sense. Maybe you pursue someone. Oh God, let me just look at my waiver wire here. Maybe you could pursue someone who is below 50% rostered. Let's see. You could pursue someone who I know will be available, an Anthony Miller, a Deontay Harris, something along those lines. I know the options aren't great. A Darnell Mooney. Ooh, here's one for you. If you want to go with a different rookie receiver, I would recommend Elijah Moore. That one intrigues me even more so than Kadarius Toney does. From James Castillo, what do you think about the Niners signing Josh Norman, excuse me. Interesting pickup. Norman was not great last year for the Bills, and he's not the same guy he was in his prime. But if you want veteran depth with upside, maybe Norman ends up being that guy. So, big-time name, not the same caliber of player he once was, but it was an intriguing option that the Niners added in Josh Norman. Cheater Jultex, does Denver have a top 5 D, if not top 10 D? I absolutely think so. I think this Denver Broncos defense is going to be very, very good this year. Oh, by the way, since we had a fantasy question earlier, I like to rotate my defense all season long. I picked up Denver in the last round. I think that's a very good pickup for fantasy because, A, the opening schedule is good. Giants, Jags, Jets, the first 3 weeks. Those should be 3 good matchups for Denver. Now, do they win all 3? Who knows? It's not that hard of a schedule. I like Denver both in real life and in fantasy. From Al Hall, if the Dolphins don't trade for Deshaun Watson now, could they at the NFL trade deadline? What is Deshaun Watson's legal issues and how is Tua playing? If Tua's playing great, this is not a conversation, and I think it won't be one at trade deadline anyway because I don't think Watson gets cleared. I know the reports are out there around Deshaun Watson and Miami, so I get the question. But if Tua plays great, if he looks like Justin Herbert in the first 5 games this year, they're not going to trade for Deshaun Watson, and that is what Miami wants. Make no mistake about it. So, in the end, because of all the issues Deshaun is facing off the field, I have a tough time seeing him actually getting traded this year. But what do you guys think? Will Deshaun Watson be traded before the end of the NFL regular season? Type Y for yes or type an N for no. From Trevor, Ben DiNucci needs to be that Taysom Hill role. Remember, Hill sucked with Green Bay. DiNucci knows how to play multiple positions. Can he, though? Can DiNucci actually play special teams? Can he play tight end? I don't think so. He's not as big as Taysom Hill is. A little bit smaller. And frankly, why would I invest so much in a specialized role when I have a franchise quarterback and tons of other playmakers? Why would I take the ball out of Dak Prescott's hands to give it to Taysom Hill? Or in this case, Ben DiNucci. I don't think that is a role that NFL teams should be pursuing, period. From Chill Will, have the Chiefs done enough this offseason for another Super Bowl run? They have Patrick Mahomes. So long answer short is yes, they have. They absolutely have done enough for this Super Bowl run. Goat wants to know, when are you guys eating mac and cheese? So we did that during the Cowboys-Texans preseason game. Goat, I will send you the timestamp of the video. Hit me up on Twitter at whatgoingdowny. That was consumed. It was not that good. From Elise Pin, you have a chance, 4th and 5, down by a score. Would you have Aaron Rodgers or Mahomes as your quarterback? First off, I'd feel great about either. I'm still going to take Mahomes. I think he is just the better quarterback right now in the NFL. Jason Kendall, when do you think Pat Freiermuth takes over for Eric Ebron? Full time, maybe by the end of this year. I don't think the Steelers want to do Ebron too dirty yet. I like Pat Freiermuth. He was a firm round 2 grade for me. That's where he ended up going. I like him. Ebron's still a good football player, so it's not going to be a direct giving of the torch, or handing the torch over, I should say. But I'd say at minimum, by the start of next year, Freiermuth is time to win. It's a matter of when, not if, for him emerging as the Steelers' tight end 1 going forward. Now, speaking of first-year players, who is your favorite rookie this year in the NFL? And yes, if you guys want, you can just answer your favorite rookie on your favorite team. That's fine with me. Get your votes in the comments section. Jason Joyner, should Seattle sign Trey Boston? If they want, safety's not a major concern for me. You have Jamal Adams, you have Quandre Diggs, you have Ryan Neal, and you can play both Ugo Amadi and Marquise Blair at safety. So I like Trey Boston. I think for the limited roster space that Seattle has, barring injury, I don't think safety is that big of a concern. From Anisha Nod, I drafted DK Metcalf over A.J. Brown in fantasy football. Is that a good idea? You know, I've got them like right by each other on my list, so I got no problem with it. I also would have no problem if you took A.J. Brown over DK. This is not like you're taking a DJ Moore over A.J. Brown. You're taking 2 players in the same tier. Pick whichever one you like more. There's no problem with that one. Steve Weeks, what in your opinion the Chargers need to do to compete against the Chiefs? You need to just remember to play great. The Chiefs are a beatable football team. Doesn't mean it's easy. There is no garbage time with Kansas City. They are always in the mix because of how explosive that offense is. So for LA, as cliche as it sounds, you got to play 4 strong quarters. I watched the Raiders outplay the Chiefs for 3 out of 4 quarters handily. The issue is they got destroyed in the second quarter, and they lost that game as a result. So because of that, you gotta be consistent, got to hold on the football, and you got to play aggressive throughout. If you try to go into clock control mode early, they're going to make you pay. Just ask Deshaun Watson and the Houston Texans in that playoff game. Now, you can bet on or against KC or LA or any NFL team with our sportsbook partner, BetUS. Head over to chatsports.com/bet and use the promo code that you see on screen. That is NFL Daily. When you put down $100, they're going to get you $125 on top of that. It's a great deal. So go to chatsports.com/bet. Use that promo code and use NFL Daily. From Mark Mulo, hey Tom, how are you? I'm good. Hope you're good too, Mark. Will all the Patriots' offseason work implode before their eyes? I think the Patriots will be a good football team. It depends on what their expectations are for their offseason work. Are they going to be a Super Bowl contender? No, I don't think that's going